So we're entering the world of the baptism of Christ as recorded in the Gospel of Luke in this year C year. The baptism of Christ is a magnificent experience for him. So we all know that we're body, soul and spirit. So a bodily experience, the warm water of the Jordan, an experience of the soul, his mind is enlightened. And then the experience of the spirit where his Father says, "You are my beloved Son, my beloved Son." And so we use our imagination to enter into these scenes. This is a very, very strong tradition in the church, the importance of the imagination. The importance of the imagination both in our spiritual life when we go to the gospel scenes and we enter into those gospel scenes and imagine what it would have been like for Jesus or for a particular person in the scene. And that's most important. You can see that what's happening there is it's enlivening your whole being because your imagination is beginning to flourish, and that actually helps our thinking and our moral life in particular. So the imagination, this is probably a very, very relevant thing given what's happened in the whole rise of the digital world and social media, where our imaginations are probably suffering seriously because we're just so locked into these forms and devices. So perhaps if we put them aside as a new resolution and try to use our imagination more, particularly in our spiritual life, but also the tradition says the imagination is so important in our moral life, So that is the pursuit of virtue and the rejection of vice. So we talk about the darkness of vice. There's a beautiful blessing at Christmas invoking the infinite goodness of God our Father to help us get out of the darkness of vice and to pursue the light of virtue. This is again a very strong theme in the tradition. But if we use our imagination, we will find it much easier to reject the things we should be rejecting and to pursue the things that we should be pursuing. There's no doubt about it. So for instance, we discover in our life that we're talking too much about people. And so we use our imagination to go to a future event. And we see ourselves respond in the situation with people, and instead of talking badly about people, we actually zip up the lips. We have an imaginary zipper on our lips, zip it up, and we remain silent. And we don't say anything negative, even though we could, and even though there may be some justification for saying, well, this person's behaviour is not exactly appropriate, but we decide, no, I'm not going to do that. But in order to prepare ourselves for these situations, using our imagination ahead of time is a very, very helpful thing in the moral life, And then we want to pursue something that's good. So we find ourselves in the workforce with different people who we get on with better, some we don't get on with, and we want to try and reach out to those that we're not exactly one with. And so we imagine ourselves being generous with these people in certain circumstances in our life of work, or it might be in our places of home, or even just some sort of holiday activity. We imagine ourselves, we use our imagination to go forward and to imagine the scenario so that we see ourselves actually doing it. And then when we get to that point where we've got the opportunity in real life, then our imagination has served us well to have the strength. So the moral life is not just about discovering what's good and evil. It's not just and then deciding I'm going to make sure I'm a much better person. No, we've got a lot of resources here within our very being, body, soul and spirit, to help us, and the imagination is a tremendous help. So maybe that's a really, really good New Year's resolution as the year 2025, the great year of Jubilee, as it starts to open up for us to be committed more to our imagination, to see the beauty and the great grace that's there present in our imagination. That'll be a wonderful gift for the year.